Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Shero Coffee Chat. Today, we're talking about the silent struggles of dementia caregiving. And I really have a feeling that this is one of those conversations that will stay with you long after it's over. So stick around for Shero Coffee Chat.
Air assault. Hello, friends, and welcome to Shero Coffee Chat. We hope you've had a great week, and thank you for joining us today. We've got a full cup ahead, so grab your Shero coffee, because we're taking a spin around the Shero resource table. Plus, we've got your chat, tip, and guest of the week. Let's give a big shout out to our host, Melissa Farmer Hill, Army combat veteran, host of Shero Coffee Chat, and founder of the Shero Coffee Club, where we keep the world caffeinated and women veterans celebrated. And now, reporting for duty and ready to lead the conversation, Melissa Farmer Hill.
Air assault! Hello, friends, and welcome to Shero Coffee Chat. I hope you are having a wonderful weekend. But let's think about it. Is it really the weekend? No, this is actually Sunday, which is the start of the week. Either way, let's celebrate this Sunday. Yes. And you know what? I truly believe that stories matter. And I truly believe that you think that too. And that is why you're here, right? Every day, every conversation gives us a chance to either learn something new. We see life from a different perspective. We find encouragement, right? Encouragement for our own journeys. I know every guest that I have each and every Sunday, I find those little nuggets to help me live a more fulfilling, a more content, a more happy life. It really motivates me to do something. And you know what? That's what Shero Coffee Chat is all about. It's about sharing conversations that remind us, you guys, that we are never alone. I think it's funny, lots of times we don't tend to share our problems, share our challenges, and share our issues, right? Because we feel that we're the only ones going through it. But I heard a little thing that says there is nothing new under the sun. So guess what? Whatever you're going through, someone else has gone through it too. And that's what we need to do. We need to learn from one another. We need to grow together. So what I want you to do is just grab your favorite cup of either Shero coffee or Shero tea. You guys know SheroCoffee.com. And I want you to get comfortable and just let's spend the next few minutes together. I am so blessed and so happy that you are here to share in this conversation. And I cannot wait to introduce you to our guest. But let me start by saying this. When it comes to a topic like dementia, yes, it seems like this has become like a buzz, a real buzz. And the numbers really help explain why, you guys. Today, an estimated 7.4 million Americans age 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's. And that number continues to grow as our population ages, making it one of the largest health challenges that a lot of families face today. But, behind every statistics, there is a spouse and a family trying to just hold it together. They're trying to hold it together. And that caregiver, and it might be you might be that caregiver quietly wondering, who's going to take care of me? What does this process look like? Here I am in this situation. And today I am just proud and honored to welcome Reverend Jeanette B. Jordan to the show as our special guest. Now, she is the founder and pastor of Journey to the Cross Ministries. which is a multi-dimensional church, as well as the founder and CEO of Dementia Dignified Academy. This is a nonprofit organization that provides caregivers, care partners, including clinicians and the broader community with specialized data-supported training modules. Now, these modules help individuals learn essential elements for caregiving professionally, respectfully, lovingly, and effectively for those living with various types of dementia. She will always be the wife of Robert A. Jordan, MD, a remarkable pediatrician who was diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's in 2016 and passed away on August 11th. 2023. Following her husband's diagnosis, Jeanette dedicated herself to dementia education and advocacy. And you guys, she's doing such a wonderful job at that. Just a remarkable individual and human being. She serves as an Alzheimer's community educational facilitator and was a champion for the New Ideas Clinical Trial Study Program in Chicago. Additionally, she is the author of Journey of Compassion, Alzheimer Caregiving, Unveiled, Empathy, and Loving Strategies for Dementia Care. Pastor Jeanette is a sought-after speaker and author, sharing her caregiving story and experiences across various platforms, you guys. And some of these platforms include Where Medicine Meets Ministry with Dr. Sherry Prentice, MD, blackdoctors.org, Alzheimer's Speaks with Lori LeBay, Patricia McClure's podcast, Talk Time with Trish, ABC7's Our Spirit and Perseverance, The Onion, Peeling Back Strongholds with pastors Dr. Marilyn and Chip Fenderson, 316 Magazine, and the Caregiver blog series with Dr. Jeanette Porter King, and so many more. When I say this lady is inside of what's going on, advocating and loving on people who are dealing with this challenge, she is there. And those are not all her credentials, you guys. Those are not all of her credentials. But today, what I just want to say is she definitely continues to inspire. She continues to give hope and dignity and compassion for caregivers living with dementia. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to please help me in welcoming Reverend Dr. She said, no, Reverend Jeanette Jordan.
Thank you.
You know what, with everything you doing, someone needs to give you an honorary doctorate degree. So I want someone to.
Everybody calls me that. I says, no, I'm not the doctor. That was my husband. However, yes. I thank you for the prophetic vision that you may have. Yes. I just thank you. All of those credentials really mean nothing. I mean, I guess it gives me a platform to say that I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I am so thankful that you asked me to be a part of your Shero Coffee Chat this morning. I've just been so excited. I'm always excited to share my journey, mm-hmm. Especially because I never knew anything about Alzheimer's or the dementias. Right. Of course, we hear about it. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, they called it old-timers disease, and we thought it only happened to older individuals.
Right.
But I learned on this journey after my husband was attacked by this BOAD, is what I call it, BOAD, beast of a disease.
Yes,
he was attacked by that beast probably way back in 2010, but I just ignored the signs. I couldn't believe that my husband was losing his cognitive abilities, his memory loss. He was forgetting things. He was repeating things over and over again. I didn't believe it. So I went back and I went back into the closet, closed the door, say, this is not happening to me.
Yeah. Wow.
And then things started to progress. By
Yeah.
2014 is when I had to come out of the closet and it became a
Mhm.
reality. Yes,
Mhm.
this is happening. What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
How am I going to navigate this journey with my husband?
Yeah. And that is exactly what we're here to talk about today. But I just want to kind of start with some basics.
Okay.
So I had to put that down and make it scroll. The boat, did you call it the BOAD, the BOAD, beast
Yes.
of a disease? Because I would imagine, once we get into the conversation that we will find out it definitely is. So let's start with the basics. What is dementia and what is the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's?
This is a question that comes up in every conversation that I have with people who are dealing with a parent or a loved one that's going through this. Okay, let's look at dementia. It's an umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And under that umbrella are various types of dementias.
Mm-hmm.
Alzheimer's is one. Alzheimer's is the most prevalent.
Okay.
Then you have cardiovascular. That's a kind of a dementia.
Okay.
You have Lewy body. That's a
Mm-hmm.
kind of dementia.
Wow.
You have cardiovascular. So those are various types of dementias. And there are over 100 or more different types of dementia that people live with. And that's the reason we encourage caregivers and loved ones to take their loved one to their primary care physician or neurologist to get a definitive diagnosis so you'll know what type of dementia your loved one is living with.
Wow.
But the most prevalent is
Mhm.
Alzheimer's. 7.5 million people
Yeah.
are living
Yeah.
with Alzheimer's. That's the statistics in 2026. When I first started this in 2023, there
Mhm.
were only 5 million. So we can see that it's increasing at a rapid rate because here it is
Mhm.
2026 now, 3 years later, and now there's 7.5 million.
And like I said, like I think we said before the show even started, like you just gave the numbers. It's increasingly going. So what are some of the? Do you know, like you've gone through your own journey. What are some of the earliest warning signs that families should not ignore? Because a lot of times, oh, you just forgot, just things like that. But these things should not be ignored.
Yeah, we all, as we get older, and it
Right.
doesn't have to be past 60, but we start to forget things. You may
Mm-hmm.
misplace your key. So you may go in a
Right.
room and say, what did I come in this room for?
Or you
Or you may use the cell phone. Misplace
Mm-hmm.
the cell phone is the big deal. Now you lose your cell phone, you misplace your cell phone, it's a wrap. Everything has to stop until we find the cell phone. But usually we're able to navigate our way back to where we left this item, right?
Yeah.
But when your loved one loses something or misplaces something or starts to repeat themselves over and over again with the same story, or that's when you got to kind of say, I better look out for this symptom. I better watch this because, every day they're losing, misplacing, or repeating. One of the things that I really got me was when my husband started to call me from his office back to back. He would call me at, let's say, 9 o'clock and says, okay, hon, what are you doing? And I would go through and have a conversation and have a good day, and we would hang up.
Yeah.
5 minutes later, he would call me back again with the same question.
Oh, wow.
But he was able to be so constructive that he would just say, oh, I love you, and I just wanted to hear your voice.
Yeah.
So he was able to cover it up quite, a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But just those little things, misplacing something or finding things in strange places. Like my husband would put his car keys. We had a key holder in our kitchen where everybody put their keys, but then I found this one time in his closet on a hanger. That's odd. Why are they there?
Yes. Yes.
So those little bitty things that you just kind of gloss over is the time that you just should have a conversation. And that conversation could be between you and the loved one in the early stages because they're still able to communicate. Although my husband was very resistant, he says nothing was going on, nothing was wrong.
Yeah.
So as that progressed, I had to get a little bit more aggressive with my getting him help.
Yeah.
And so I had to like encourage him to go to his primary care physician, and let's go to the primary care physician and get an exam or maybe get a cognitive assessment. He was resistant to that. Then you have to then start talking to your primary care physician, maybe on the side
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
your loved one.
Thank you for showing how people can advocate, because some people don't know how to do it. So I am actually absolutely loving this. I apologize for cutting you off.
Oh, that's okay. I just, I go on and on. I get excited when I talk
Yeah.
about this because,
Yeah.
Melissa, I found a purpose in my pain.
Amen.
And that's the reason I talk about it with such enthusiasm,
Mhm.
because I know we can do this thing, and we can do it with grace, and we can do it with joy, and we can do it, the selfless caregiving assignment that we've been given.
Mhm.
We can do it when we understand the process and the progress. And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
that's what I want to share. So when I was saying you go to your primary care physician and you really advocate for your loved one, it says these are the things that I'm seeing. Is there something that you can do? Now, I'm working really hard to get the primary care physician community to make cognitive assessments as a
Mhm.
part of our annual exam, because we have annual exams for everything but our brain. We do our breast cancer. We do the mammograms. We do the prostate screening. We
Mhm.
do our A1C screening. We do all of that, but we've forgotten about the brain. So I'm advocating for our primary care physicians to make that an annual assessment so that we can catch the disease early on. So early diagnosis leads to early treatment.
Wow.
So that's what we want. That's what we want to do. But when we're looking at our loved ones, yeah, we have to look at these changes and
Mhm.
say, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to go in the closet and let it progress, or are we going
Right.
to be proactive and do something?
So at one point, I know you went from being a wife to actually being like a caregiver. What, like for instance, you're no longer his wife, you're more of a caregiver. Did you enter that stage, and can you help us? Can you tell us about that journey?
I was always a wife.
Yes,
And the thing
I
about
stand
that is,
corrected.
and the thing about that is, your vibes say, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and
Hmm.
in health, to death do us
Hmm.
part. So
Yes,
the part of that wife characteristic is in sickness and in health. And so
understood. Uh-huh.
that's how that kicked in.
Okay.
And so what I became was, his buddy, his best friend, who was going to
Mm.
make sure that he was going to be able to navigate the journey. Now, at first I had to get the diagnosis. And
Right.
that came in 2016. Before then, it was just me observing and saying to myself, my husband has memory loss and it's Alzheimer's. That
Hmm.
was me. And
Right.
so I was getting frustrated. I was just didn't know what to do when he would lash out and argue, and his characteristic or his character became not him, cursing and being very, very defiant. I found myself getting very, very frustrated. So then that's when I had to reach out to try to find help for me. And how to navigate the journey. So that's the
Yes.
part early on. You should learn what they're going through so that you don't take it personal. That you
Yeah.
continue to be the loving, compassionate person that you were before this person was attacked by this boed, this beast.
Right.
And so that's what I had to do. So getting the
Hmm.
definitive diagnosis in 2016
Hmm.
helped me to understand that this was a disease. And once you
Yes.
understand it's a disease, then you have to treat it like a disease. You have to learn how to communicate, how to be that person's voice, how to make sure that the person gets from point A to point B
Hmm.
safely.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
understand that there's no cure, so the progression is not going to be nice,
Right.
but preparation helps you to get to that place with grace.
And so like you say in your journey, your husband was defiant. And so how did you navigate through his being defiant, his denial of it and everything. And you're right. You are always the wife. But it just took on a different role. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get in a support group.
Mm-hmm.
I had to find, depending on the Alzheimer's Association,
Mm-hmm.
I had to start looking for how I was going to navigate. I had no idea. I was so frustrated that I thought I was really having a mental breakdown. I was really not.
Wow.
It was affecting me not only physically, it was affecting me mentally. I mean, but even the mental, then the physical. Sometimes I had heart palpitations. I felt like I was having a panic attack.
Yeah.
I found myself going to the emergency room and finding that my blood pressure had been elevated,
Yeah.
needing to, just talk about it to somebody.
Yeah.
So I went to the Alzheimer's Association and I told my story and what I was going through. And there were other people there telling their stories. And when you said earlier, you're not alone in
Right.
this journey. So I
Mm-hmm.
found other people who were going through the same thing that I was going through. And so we were able to kind of talk about, our frustration and what we were going to do about it as we continue to care for our loved one. I
Mm-hmm.
then went to a support group at South Suburban Hospital here in Chicago, in the South suburbs. And I did again, found people who were navigating the same journey I was going through. And we shared, similar stories.
Mm-hmm.
But Ms. Alyssa, what I did find during this journey that not very many people knew how to really care for a person who's living with this disease.
Yeah.
There was no answer for
Right.
me. When my
Right.
husband lashed out at me, there was nobody that could tell me, what was going on. Why this change? You know what's happening when you're developing dementia and especially Alzheimer's is they have your brain is building up what they call amyloid plaque. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that plaque on your teeth. You can remove that
Uh-huh.
plaque from your teeth, but we can't remove that plaque from our brain. And they call it tau, TAU, and plaque. And so when that builds up on your brain, then the neurons, the electrical currents cannot
They're not.
fire
Yeah.
to get you to do what, when you're in pain, your brain tells you, oh, you're hurt and you got to do something about it. Or when it's time for me to discuss this with you, my brain is telling me you got to have this conversation with
Right.
Melissa about
Right.
dementia. Well, when you're going through this, it's not fine like that. So you get all confused. And can you imagine being confused? You get frustrated. And
Right.
because you don't know how to handle it yourself, the person that's, living with the disease. And so you become
Yeah.
frustrated and you lash out and your whole demeanor becomes different. And so I learned that that's the
Mm-hmm.
disease. So now how am I going to help my husband
Mm-hmm.
get through this? When he lashes out at me, am I going to lash back out at him? Well,
Right.
no, absolutely not. If I lash out at him, he's going to replicate what I do. If I look at him with a stern or angry face, he's going to mimic that. And so I have to talk to him with love and compassion. And then I had to
Yes.
learn that sometimes the lashing out had nothing to do with him being frustrated. He may have had a pain, but he could not communicate that to me. And the only way that he could communicate it is through this, angry, lashing out, defiant personality.
So I mean that I think that's good to know. So what happens is the neurons just aren't firing, they're not wired and firing appropriately, and so there's a disconnect. And so your husband and anyone that's living with this disease has to figure out a way. It's not just regular talk. I don't have this ability to do this anymore. I'm getting very emotional right now, because I mean this is a very serious topic.
It is.
What one of the questions that I had for you was, what was the biggest surprise about caring for your husband that no one prepared you for? I mean, I know that your entire journey, but a lot of people might, I like to hone in on questions that, I wasn't ready for this, or I didn't expect this. If we could get, if you can tell a little bit of that.
Okay, the biggest thing for me was the fact that the wake up call was when he had to stop work.
Mm.
My husband was a pediatrician in the south suburbs of Chicago, in Chicago Heights and Homewood. And he had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of patients. He was very well known in the south suburbs. And when we realized that he's not going to be able to continue this from 2016 when he got that diagnosis, that he was not going to be able to continue this. What were we as a family? I have 5 kids. What are we as a family going to do? How are we going to navigate life now? Because my husband did not work for a hospital. He was not on anyone's payroll. He was the sole provider for our family. So if he's not going to be able to work, what is going to happen to, and I took it personal, me, how are we going to pay for the mortgage? How are we going to keep up, all of these things that we have acquired? What are we going to do with the practice? What is going to happen in life? With us? And so I had to start to figure out what's going to happen and how I'm going to navigate. How is he going to continue to work? Because he was working every day. He was getting up, getting dressed, going to work, doing his, making his diagnosis, writing his prescriptions, calling them in, making rounds. But then when you start noticing that when he would examine a patient, he would make the diagnosis, write the prescription. But then what would happen? He would forget that he had examined a patient and have the mom to undress the kid again and start all over.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the biggest eye opener for myself and his staff. So we had to start putting things in place. He would start forgetting to write his notes. He would wait until after. He said, I'll do that after. Well, you can't do that after. You can't remember. You're seeing 50 patients a day. You can't remember what 50 patients. So we start to have to implement a nurse going in to scribe for him. I had to start putting his passcode for his computer login. I would have to put that on paper and put it in his wallet and encourage him to look there to find that out. So just the fact that I could see that progression deteriorating. The wake-up call was, where is it going to go? Where is it going to go? It's not going to get any better.
Right.
So I had to just really hone in on what my job was going to be so that he would be honored and respected and given the dignity on this path that was going to be the end. They call that, oh my God. Now I'm
Is it a hero's journey?
I'm sorry.
I heard something similar, but they call it a hero's journey. I'm not sure.
It's called, I'll think of it in a minute.
Okay.
It's going from adult to childhood. Retrogenesis.
Oh, retrogenesis.
Retrogenesis.
Okay.
From being an adult all the way back to then being a child. Although it's not a child, but that's where you're going to go back, all the way back.
Oh,
so
okay.
You have to implement the care that you did have for your children from when they were a child to an adult. So now you're going to have to do that with your loved one with dementia or Alzheimer's.
Right.
You have to go back.
I love it.
Be ready to address that progression, digression.
Right.
During that journey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for your transparency. And, as I listened to you and I listened to the things that you had to go through as a caregiver and how you completely adjusted your life. It was in the small things to make sure that he was still well respected and could still continue to do his job up until he was not able to. A lot of people, because it speaks to the relationship.
Yes.
Because a lot of people would be like, I'm out.
Yes. And you can't be out. You can't be out. You cannot be out. And that's the reason this is what I learned, that there are people that don't understand and know how to care for a person with this disease. So as my husband progressed, and one of the things that I did was, caring for him, I had someone to come in and to help me with his care.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, we realized that he needed socialization, because once they are diagnosed with this and you see it, you just don't leave them in silo. You have to continue
Right.
to let them live and do what they can do while they can do it as much as they can do. So after my husband retired, that was the biggest challenge, because, of course, he didn't want to retire. He
Right.
went out kicking and screaming.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that he had to, and he never thought that he should. But I had to say, well, how can he continue to use his gift of being a medical doctor and not being able to be a medical doctor?
Right.
So I did
Right.
find adult day
Mm-hmm.
that I would take him to every morning, although he didn't want to go at first. But then you have to do what you call therapeutic lies. I had to tell him that they needed him at that daycare, because there were people that were, had illnesses, and they probably needed to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
So he began to say, oh, they do? They need me. Okay,
Beautiful.
I'll go.
Mm-hmm.
So he put on his white lab jacket, and we put his stethoscope around his neck, and he went, without any hesitation to that, adult day. And he did make friends there, and they were able to, they said that this is Dr. Jordan. So they would say, I've been having this pain in my knee for so long. And then the conversation started. And so he did that for, maybe about 6 months, until the progression got a little worse, and then he became agitated, and he would oftentimes say, I'm not going there, because every time I go there, someone steals my car, although he was not driving.
Right. Understood.
But he thought he was driving, and he would use his phone to call 911. He knew how to do that. And he would call 911 and let them know that someone had stolen his car.
Wow.
And so the police, of course, would come.
Yeah.
But one of the things you do with a loved one who is living with this is you have to let the authorities know that your loved one is living with Alzheimer's or dementia, so that they know in the area if the person is lashing out or get lost, that person has this disease.
Wow.
So those are the kind of things. But I did also learn, after he had to be placed eventually in a long-term care facility for his safety and my safety.
Right. Understood.
They, in the long-term care facility, really didn't know how to care for a person with this disease. And I want to say this too, Melissa, that people often say, well, I would never put my loved one in a long-term care facility. Not never, ever. And I says, never say never.
Absolutely.
Because, you start feeling guilty when you do that. But I promised my husband that I would never put him in a long-term care facility, and I had told him, don't put me in one. But I found out I could not care for him 24/7 and give him the quality of care that he needed by myself. Right. And I found myself, like I said, my health was deteriorating. And if my health deteriorates, who's going to care for him? Right. So I had to take off of that never ever and be realistic. But I didn't drop him off at a long-term care facility and just leave him there. Right. I was there every day. Right. Those were my helpers. You look at it, those people at that long-term care facility were people who were there to help me care for my husband. And I was the lead caregiver, and I gave the directions, and you have that authority. I became the lead caregiver, and I would tell the doctor if I wanted him to give him melatonin to sleep at night. I don't want him to have that, because I believe in non-pharmacological the approach. I want you to give him lavender aromatherapy. That's what I want to calm him down. I began to tell the long-term care facility, you need to have someone that's going to spend time with my husband and talk to him. You're not going to leave him sitting in this room by himself, just looking at the wall, because then he's not having any activity going on. Right. So in that process, I trained those who I thought were professionals how to take care of someone that's living with Alzheimer's or dementia, because I had to become my husband's voice. I had to become his spokesperson. I had to become his eyes. I had to become his everything. So I had to be there. And if you're not there, then I said, don't complain about what's going on. Right. Because you're not there to do the directive.
Absolutely. And so this Oh, were you going to say
No,
something else?
go.
Oh, okay. So this just had to be where you saw the gap and created, usually that's how it gets started. There's a gap that's noticed, and then someone says, this is my purpose, or your God-given purpose, or what God has, because look, I mean, and I could see why you would have your academy. As we listen to your journey, as we listen to the things that you notice, as we listen to how you went from supporting him in while he was, a pediatrician, to being at home, to having to go from a facility. That is a journey. And for you to, once he went to the facility, for you to notice all of the things that were missing.
Yes.
And so let's talk about the academy.
Okay, what we do for at Dementia Dignified Academy is we train the caregiver to be just what I'm talking about.
Yes.
To be the eyes, the ears, to do practical care for their loved one, from wanting to do what to give your loved one. We use the non-pharmacological approach, like I said earlier. We use the Dementia Connection Institute module. That's from the Dementia Connection Institute as our model for dementia care, together with just telling you how you communicate, how you slow your voice down, how you enunciate your words, how you talk to your loved one with a smile on your face, how you give your loved one a beautiful touch, a massage. How when your loved one is angry and lashing out, how you must remember who your loved one was. Did your loved one have arthritis? Or does your loved one have diabetes? Or does your loved one have some condition that they cannot articulate that they're having issues with right now? So you become that eye, so you can join in on that. When my husband would grab his stomach, I would see him touching his stomach. And I would say, oh, well, he may have a stomach ache. Maybe he has to go to the bathroom. He can't tell me that. So then I then begin the process of making sure he gets to the bathroom. That's what we teach in the academy. We teach you what tools to use. Let's say if your loved one is lacking an appetite, then we want to use, maybe bright color plates in order for them to perk up their appetite. Or you want to use peppermint aromatherapy because that perks up your appetite. You want to make sure that the room is colorful. You don't want to have a lot of black in the room, or you don't want the floors to be dark, because that's that looks like a hole to them. So we do a lot of that technical training so you can understand the gaps that are in that journey, that your loved one can't tell you, look like I'm getting ready to fall in that hole. They become agitated and frightened, and they may become combative. We teach you how to feed them. There's going to be a point in time that they may not be able to eat. They can't chew. Why can't they chew? Make sure you're looking in their mouth to make sure that they don't have cavities. Make sure if they're in a long-term care facility, they ain't got on somebody else's dentures, because they do a lot of wandering and traveling. So, we teach them just to be the eyes and the ears, be able to take time and be compassionate. It took me like sometimes 45 minutes to an hour when my husband had at one point forgotten how to swallow, and that happens. So you have to be very, very cautious about that, but you have to make sure you know when to tell yourself or your long-term care facility it's time for you to change that, that regular food maybe to mechanical food, chop it up a little, finer, or get to a point now you got to take that mechanical food and you have to puree it because they cannot chew it at all. So we teach them the progression and when that time may be that you have to implement the new way of doing things. So it's a lot going on, keeping them social, letting them do, don't just sit them down. If your loved one love to cook, allow them to They may not be able to whip up the cake, but they may be able to stir up the batter with your assistance. So you continue to give them the dignity that they deserve and allow them to feel functionable, allow them to feel part of the community, because they still are. And so that's what we encourage, and that's what we teach.
Wow, this is definitely God's work. I'm just feeling so full right now, just hearing your journey, listening to the story, and listening to the things that you do. So if I'm a brand new caregiver, or I wanted to become a part of what you're doing, how can we discover Dementia Dignified Academy? I know we have the website, but
Yeah,
what would
you have my
tell a
website
Yes,
rolling down here. That's the website.
we've got your email.
Yes. The email, the
Mhm.
website. The website is www.
Here it is right here.
DementiaDA.org.
Yep.
You
Yep.
can go there and see all that we do in our
Mhm.
training, though. Even for healthcare professionals, social workers, we give CEUs.
Oh,
So you can get
wow.
6 CEUs for taking our course, and you become a dementia connection specialist. So you can put that DCS behind your name and carry
Mhm.
that for the rest of your life. And when it comes time for renewal, you just recertify and you
Mhm.
become a specialist. That gives you some recognition that you know a little bit about what you are absolutely doing. If you want to
Absolutely. Mhm.
get us information, or you need to reach out to us, you can do it through our email address,
Mhm. Mhm.
dignified@dementiada.org.
Mhm.
I get right back to you. Uh,
Yes.
we have a
Yes.
support group. If you're interested in our support group, everyone needs support. We do it virtual. So when we do our support group, it's every fourth Thursday of the month, at from 6 p.m. Central Standard Time to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You
Okay.
can reach out to me either via the website, or you can directly email us and says, I'm interested in being a part of being one of the support members on your support group. We also decided or realized that men who care for their loved ones have a whole different need to talk to men. So
Wow.
we developed a men only support group, because one of my board members, Dr. Michael Washington, says, we men, we need to have some barbershop conversation.
Gotcha.
That's how we talk to one another. And Dr. Washington cares not only for his mother, but his mother-in-law, who are both living with Alzheimer's. And
Wow.
so they needed to talk to one another. Their support group is really, really growing. And so
Wonderful.
you can go to our website and say, I want to be a
Mhm.
part of the men only, support group. And we'll just get you that information. If you have a church out there and you want us to come and you want us to talk about what we're talking about now,
Mhm.
Michelle Mason is my right hand. She's the
Mhm.
COO of Dementia Dignified Academy. She is
Hi,
the
Michelle. I love to just give shout outs whenever people mention their name. So,
Yeah,
hello, Michelle.
Michelle is the creative one in the Dementia Dignified Academy. She's the one that writes our modules for our academy. And she's just so creative in making sure that the caregiver has that hands-on experience through role
Yeah.
play when
Oh,
we do
wow.
workshops through role play. So you'll
Yeah.
understand maybe what the loved one is going through. So we go out and we do
Mhm.
workshops. We just do whatever it is that you need us to do. We show up at your event with our brochures,
Mhm.
conversation. We have to get the word out to our people, our community,
Mhm.
because we don't
Mhm.
want to talk about it. What goes
Right.
on in the Jordan house stays in the Jordan house. Well, we
Right.
can't do that anymore.
No, we
We
can't.
have
We
to talk
can't.
about it. We
Yeah.
advocate for clinical trials. We want
Mhm.
us to participate in clinical trial studies. We have to understand that every medication that we take has gone through a clinical trial. So we want to make
Mhm.
sure that the medications that our loved ones are taking for this disease, that our DNA is in that trial.
Yes.
So when they're
Yes.
making the medication, it's going to help us because
Yes.
they have our DNA. So, and you get a lot of perks when you participate in a clinical trial. You can get a PET scan, which is the it's like an MRI, but it's for your
Mhm.
brain to see
Mhm.
how much amyloid plaque is built up. They have
Mhm.
different types of clinical trials that's helping us to try to, eventually come to a conclusion that we have a cure.
Mhm. So I have to ask, you do believe that one day there will be a cure for this
I
disease?
do.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
have to believe that. We're
Yes.
working too hard for
Hmm.
that to happen. Look
Yeah.
how long it's taken for them to find a cure for the various types of cancers.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
it's taken
true.
them forever, for years, and now just here they got some a cure for a certain types of breast cancer. They have
Yeah.
found
Yeah.
something. So yes, as we continue to participate in these clinical trials,
Yeah.
they are going to find a cure. They found some medications that will slow down the progression.
Hmm.
So the next step is, okay, if you can slow it down, you can stop it. So that's our prayer. But
Yes.
until that time, Dementia Dignified Academy, we don't focus on the cure.
Hmm.
We focus on the present, what's happening today.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we want our caregivers to be able to navigate this journey with peace and joy and compassion,
Hmm.
and to do it, with the love that they have for their loved one or whoever
Hmm.
they're given the
Right.
assignment to. Like I
Right.
said, I found purpose in my pain. And
Wow.
out of that, I birthed Dementia Dignified Academy.
Oh, this is such a blessing. This entire interview has been a blessing. You know what? I love what you really taught us today. Retrogenesis. Having fighting for cognitive assessments as part of the annual exam, having us be a part of the clinical trial studies, and some of the things that you've gone through, what you teach your caregivers that are part of your academy. I think it's all just beautiful, and it comes together just so wonderfully and amazingly. It definitely is God purpose. I just feel that, and I just see that. So right now, I am going to pull myself out of the screen. I just want to thank you for being a guest. And one thing I did want to say, Pastor Jordan, is that we give our guests either tea or coffee, because and isn't it amazing that you chose blueberry? And
Yes.
I don't know if you saw, like, you might not have known what blueberry represented. Blueberry could have just been your favorite flavor, and that's what you wanted. So were you able to see the bag and read the bag, what the blueberry
Yes,
represented?
I did. I looked on the back after. It's wonderful.
On
It
the
honors
front.
the
Yeah.
heart of a caregiver, the one who shows up
Yes.
patience, attentiveness, and care, balancing responsibility while continuing to move forward with quiet strength. Awesome.
Absolutely. That, and it was just so apropos that you said, give me blueberry, and I'm like, blueberry is the caregiver. So again, I am going to give you the platform. Thank you so much for this interview. It definitely will bless people. In the minutes that I had with you, I'm blessed, I'm more informed, I'm more educated. So I just want to say thank you for that, especially when it comes to being a caregiver for dementia. I'm going to pull myself out the screen. The platform is yours, and you have an open invitation to come on Shero Coffee Chat at any time. So
Oh,
thank you,
thank you.
and
Thank you.
be blessed. The platform is yours.
Okay. I just want to come on and say that my journey has been a blessing. When I asked God why my husband happened to have been the best pediatrician in the whole wide world. And I'm not just saying that because he was my husband, but because he was. Dr. Robert Jordan was the first African American chief resident at Rush Presbyterian St. Luke Hospital here in Chicago ever, not just in the area of pediatrics. He was the first chief resident ever in Chicago. So that he is he's a history maker. And just to think that beast of a disease in probably 2010, walked up to our door and knocked on the door, and we opened it, and he crossed the threshold and took up residence in one of our guest bedrooms. And from that point on until my husband made his transition, he plucked and picked at his brain, causing that amyloid plaque and toe to build up. And from that, I just had to learn how I was going to care for my husband with the grace and the dignity and the patience and the love and the compassion until God called him home. And that I did. There were times, of course, that I was frustrated. There were times that, he would argue with me and I would argue back with him. There was a time that I found him making his morning coffee. And why was the coffee pot on the floor? I have no idea. But I had to learn how to say that's okay. If that's where he wanted to make his coffee, as long as I'm there to watch over him to make sure he's safe, it's okay if that makes him happy. I had to learn that if he wanted to dress himself, not the way that I think he should be dressed, because the way he used to be dressed, he was an impeccable dresser. But as time went on, he started to put some things on mismatch. He may put on his Sunday trousers with his pajama top. And I would always say, that doesn't go with that. I found myself getting frustrated. Then one day I realized, well, what's wrong with it? If that is what he wants to put on, that's fine. We're here in the house. He can dress however he wants. There were times that, he didn't want to take a shower every day like he ordinarily would have before this disease attacked him. Well, he doesn't have to take a shower every day. But let's see, why doesn't he want to take a shower? I had to make sure that the water was not too hot, or the water was not too cold. What was making him anxious about that? Just the journey became very, very interesting, and it became a challenge for me because I wanted my husband to be happy. I wanted him to go through this journey with just as much ease as he possibly could. So I was there to make sure that happened. I made sure that he stayed social. But I learned on this journey that sometimes the people that you think may stay on board with you, they won't. My husband was an avid golfer, and he golfed practically 2 to 3 times a week. And when they started to go on this journey, his golf buddies started to withdraw. And I did realize that, when he was on the golf course, he may misplace his phone. And if he misplaced his phone, the golf round was over because everybody had to go on a hunt for the phone. And I understood that. And I was able to tell his golf buddies what he was going through. But they did not embrace that the way that I thought that they were going to embrace it and help me through the journey. They chose to just leave. And I tell you, those guys never came back. During the whole journey, they were not a part of his life. And so that's something that you just have to be aware of. People distance themselves, and I don't know why. Even sometimes family members don't embrace the journey the way that you anticipate that they should. But I give them grace because not everybody can navigate this journey. Even though we want them to, and we think that they should, and we have our own ideas as to why they don't, but maybe they just can't. They can't see the loved one in that condition. They don't know what they have to offer. But we encourage you as a caregiver, when you get to that point and you see people pulling away, maybe what I should have done was I should have reached out to my husband's golf buddies. I should have been the one to invite them in because maybe they did not want to invade my privacy. Maybe if I had have reached out to them, they would have come and maybe taken them for a ride in the golf cart. I don't know, but this is something that I encourage now that I know better. I can share with you that you can do better. Your loved ones, your family that you feel are not helping you. invite them in to help. They may not be able to come in to do hands-on, but they may be able to help you in other ways. Maybe they can cook you a meal and bring the meals over. Maybe they can food prep for you. Or maybe they can come and wash a load of clothes, or maybe they can come and, just give you an hour just to get out of the house, to take a breath. But you have to ask. If you are a worshiper and you have a church home, maybe if you ask someone in your church ministries to come and visit you, maybe they don't want to impose, so they don't ask, but they're waiting for you to invite them in. So don't be afraid to ask for help, because you do need help. You cannot care for your loved one 24/7 by yourself and do an effective job without deteriorating your own physical and mental health. There is so much that you can do along this journey. If your loved one is in a long-term care facility, don't forget that you are the lead caregiver. Don't forget that you must call for a care plan meeting, and you must set up parameters around how you want your loved one cared for, from the doctor to the custodian. Everybody's involved in that care planning for your loved one, because that's your loved one's residence. So you want to make sure that the physical is taken care of, the mental is taken care of, that the socialization is taken care of, that they're having activities that they are participating in and doing what they can do, that someone is spending time talking to them, observing them, that the room that they're assigned to is clean and immaculate, and that your loved one is being taken care of hygienically, and that they're being dressed properly. They're not being left unattended with soiled underwear or soiled depends. You have to be the eyes and the ears. And so if you say you love someone, show it. Love is an action word. And so those are the types of things that I encourage you to do. And talk to somebody. Care for yourself. You have to take time for you. That's the reason you need respite care. Respite care meaning someone or someplace you take your loved one to give you a break. Respite care is calling an organization or a ministry to come in that is educated enough, trained enough in dementia care that you feel safe. You can leave your loved one in their care, and you can go and take care of you. Get yourself a mani or a pedi or a massage, or go for a movie or a walk in the park. You need to take time for you to reset so that you can come back and be the best caregiver that you can be. I did it from when I became the full-time caregiver in 2017 until 2023. I did it during the time of COVID. And that was a very difficult time where you couldn't even get in to see your loved one. And I got stuck in Atlanta for 8 months because the world was shut down. But as lead caregiver, guess what I did? I called that long-term care facility and I said, we have Facebook, we have Zoom. I want to see my husband twice a day. I want a call twice a day. And so they were able to put me on a Zoom call, and I was able to see my husband and see that he was being cared for, that he looked okay. So those are the types of authorities that you have, and those are what you should expect from even the long-term care facility, if your loved one is there, that they can do for you. So you have to take the bull by the horn. And you just got to do what you got to do to make this journey a palatable one. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And you know what, guys? We are going to close out. And just until next time, I want you to remember, keep learning, keep growing, and keep taking your next step. Don't forget, we've always got coffee for the grind and tea for the pause at Shero Coffee Chat. We've got conversations for growth. Pastor Jordan, this has been such a wonderful conversation. And I just want to say thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All right. We're going to close out here. I will see you guys next week.
Hey there, thank you so much for hanging out with us on this week's Shero Coffee Chat. Don't forget, smash that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. And hey, make sure your weekday begins with Shero Coffee, where we keep the world caffeinated and women veterans celebrated. You can visit us at sherocoffee.com. We'll see you next week right here on Shero Coffee Chat and have a blessed week.